And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Dawg Talk podcast. I'm your host, Harris Arena. Alongside me, co-host Kobe Piers, back here with another edition. It's been, I think, 2 weeks since we did our last show.
Oh
So we
yeah.
are excited to be back here with you. Really last minute change of plans. We've had some conflicts of schedules. This latest one, really last minute. So we had to move the show up an hour. Kind of with like with the snap of the finger. So Kobe is joining me tonight. We'll be touching, I guess, a very brief loaded show. We're gonna try and get this done in record timing. We have until about 7 o'clock, so we have like 30 minutes ish for you tonight. But we're gonna make this really fast. Get to it right here with hot topic number one. Kobe, what is a college football story that stopped you in your tracks? Credit to Paul Feinbaum for this question that he put out in the wake of the Luka Doncic trade to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, I think that if we're going to talk about recently for Georgia fans, I would say, Carson Beck transfers to Miami has to be one that comes immediately to mind. As far as in my lifetime, the biggest one, it was before, I was in high school. I wasn't keeping up with all the aspects of recruiting and all the things that fans keep up with now. But when Kirby Smart got the Georgia job, when he was officially named head coach, like what a massive moment. And, talk about the difference in the landscape of Georgia football has been since that moment, to me, is unbelievable. What about you, Harrison?
I would say for me, it's definitely, as I try to promote the show as we're on air. Like I said, none of this was planned. It is very impromptu. Me and Kobe just hopped on here legit with a snap of the finger. Nick Saban's retirement. And me and you had talked about this in chat when I proposed this as a hot topic. Like, I don't know if there was a day in terms of college football where it's like, man, is this real? Like, that was the thing with the Luka Doncic trade at midnight. It's like, was he hacked? Is this real? Is this happening? And the Nick Saban thing is the same way. Like, you see the news drop. I had, who was it on notifications? It was, I had a bunch of people notifications. I think Ari Murov was one of them at the time, and he had retweeted it. So I got the notification straight from him, like, holy crap. Like, wow, this is happening.
Well, here's a guy that, I think if NIL and some of those things hadn't changed, I'm not sure he doesn't coach until he physically cannot anymore. I just think with the changes in football, and at some point, you just get to a life, and I think he's talked about with Miss Terry of, why are we doing this anymore? At some point, you got to enjoy your life and what's after coaching, and that's a hard thing to let go of when the man was still winning championships, competing for championships. So it's kind of hard to sit that down until you're past your prime.
Yeah. Any honorable mentions real quick before we move on to the second one? I couldn't think of anyone that really stopped me in my tracks.
The only other one that I can think of is, for whatever reason, the fact that they were taking back Reggie Bush's Heisman. For whatever reason, that always sticks out in my mind of like, really? 12, 13 years later, you're going to take the man's Heisman back like that? Just kind of ridiculous. And now it's laughable considering like the circumstances with NIL and everything, to think that, him taking payment basically that was grounds for them taking his Heisman back. Kind of funny.
Yeah, especially in today's atmosphere, it's like, wow, they really did that. Like, this really just happened. I don't remember that happening. Like, I wasn't on social media back when that happened. Aging myself quite a bit there. So I don't remember it quite as well as Kobe does, maybe even Dan. Was really interested to see where Dan went with this, because I think Kobe and I both, like we talked about, the three of us all have like different eras in terms of, like, what is more fresh to us. Like, where were you during this moment? We'll have to get him and his reaction and take to that question next time we do the show, coming to you next Wednesday at 7:30. Kobe, question number 2. What is your favorite part of the college football offseason? And as I explained to you pre-show, this doesn't have to be a specific time on the college football calendar per se. It could be like just in general, what do you look forward to in the offseason when football's not on?
Yeah, I think that used to back before things changed. I think everybody it was a mad dash to about this time of year for National Signing Day. I think there were big stories, big commitments, big flips, big moments where wow, we're really going to lock up the number one class, or oh my goodness, we lost two commitments, we're going to be at three or four, or things like that. Now with early National Signing Day, which I guess is just more like regular National Signing Day. Really not a lot of football related things that get me going. I'm a huge Georgia baseball fan. I've been to I can't even count how many Georgia baseball games since I've been here in 2016. So they start out this weekend. I'm excited to see them on the diamond. They got the new field, the new turf, and then man, who can't just enjoy some good golf in the spring? The Masters coming up. I'm going to PGA Championship this year as well as the U.S. Open. So I got two golf tournament trips, one coming in May and one coming later, I believe in June. But I'll have to double check on the U.S. Open.
Our man's going to be on the course.
That's at Oakmont too this year,
Okay.
up in Pennsylvania. So
I see.
pretty fun trip.
It might just be because I haven't played it much and I suck at it, but golf just isn't my thing.
Yeah.
And I know I'm still young, so I still have many more years, hopefully, to, I guess, get into it. But my answer is still kind of going to be like this upcoming like part of the spring where we're in now almost, where it's like you said, the Masters is on, MLB's starting up, March Madness is here. Like we're getting to that point where it's like, hey, this is the part of the off season where it's like I don't realize football's not here. It's not until the late summer, early summer, June, July, where it's like, man, I need college football back. I need football back, period. We're coming up on, I think, my favorite part of the offseason by far. Plus, you have spring practice.
Yeah, and March is so great because, like you're saying, it's a mixture of spring practice, it's March Madness. As a wrestling fan, it's March Madness, which is the NCAA's wrestling tournament national championship that happens. So tune in for that. And then, like you're saying, early April, there's the Masters. It starts to feel good. Graduation's right around the corner for Harrison at that point. Just a bunch of good feelings come March and later, I guess.
Still got another year until that graduation, buddy. But we appreciate you.
I was trying to just throw you a bone right there.
Yeah, just throw it out there. See if I catch it or not. We'll catch it this time next year. Kobe, let's hop into, I guess, kind of what we came into the show wanting to talk about, and that's kind of season expectations. It's been all around. It's been up and down for the most part when I look at what people are saying about Georgia. Obviously, it's still very early. It's February 12th. Spring practice hasn't even started. They're still going through winter workouts right now. Kobe, you know this more than I do. What is on a player's mind right now on a early February, mid-February in the offseason?
Yeah, biggest thing on your mind is just, damn it, these early, 6 a.m. runs, all these things, the two-a-days with Coach Sinclair. They're going to get into a point here in, I guess it's spring break. I can always do the math. When is spring break?
The end of the month.
Okay. So 1, 2. So it should have started this week then. So they do a thing called dog time the 3 weeks before spring break. And it would be basically running 3 to 4 days a week and lifting 3 to 4 days a week. And it is hellacious. It is what makes college football athletics what it is. It is the difference between high school athletics and college football athletics. It is just absolute craziness. Some of my most memorable times have been like, you're there. It's 5:40 in the morning. You're on a scale. This is the part that some people don't understand. We don't have a lot of time to dive into it. Maybe another time. But like 5:40 in the morning, a coach is watching you step on a scale, recording your weight, making sure you're within your allotted weight limit. Then you go and you lift for an hour and a half and do some light speed training. Then you go to your 8 a.m. class. You go to class until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Then you come back, you get back on the scale, weight coach watches you record your weight again. Then you go out and you run for an hour and a half. You do some form of like 7-on-7 work. Then you come back in, you get on the scale a third time. Then they record your weight. They like give you a fluid supplement depending on how much weight you've lost during the day, and then like it also tells you what meal you're allowed to eat that evening. Like if you're in the weight gain meal plan, the weight loss meal plan, or the weight maintain meal plan. I mean, everything's so micromanaged. It's such a frustrating time of the year.
I bet. Having to do, I see the videos. There's that 5 a.m. right before the sun even comes up. They're out there running, just sprinting across the streets of Athens. Not jealous of that, especially in today's weather. Like it was cold and rainy all day. I don't know. That would have tested my my mental right there for sure. In terms of like, ooh, do I really want to get up and do this? Don't know if I would in full transparency. So, anyways, we just brought that up kind of as a point of like, hey, this is really, really early. So there's still a lot that can change. Hell, there's another portal window that can change our outlook on not only this team, but teams around the country. But I guess transitioning into it in terms of season expectations, Brad Crawford over at 247 Sports dropped his SEC football game-by-game predictions for each and every team in the conference of the 16-team conference. Now, it's crazy, still crazy to think there's 16 teams. Not even through the inaugural season of the 16-team conference, if you think about it. Still got some sports that are kicking off that new schedule. He has 4 SEC teams in the college football playoffs, including your Georgia Bulldogs, going 10-2. Projected to get back to the SEC championship, but lose this time to Texas. Kobe, looking at it on the surface, if you just told me 10-2, I would have said, hey, that's what happened last year. I can see it again. I can see it again. But where this maybe thing goes a little bit off the rails for me is the 2 losses he picks. Auburn, and at Georgia Tech. I get Georgia Tech a little bit more than Auburn, considering Georgia Tech took you to the limit in Sanford Stadium this past year. But I'm not buying the Auburn hype right now. We got people making Auburn out as a top 25 program heading into the season.
Auburn's going to have to. I don't know. I'm with you. Like, if you told me, hey, listen, you're going to have, again, probably arguably one of the hardest schedules in the country. And you're going to end up 10-2, just like you did last year back in the SEC championship game. I'd tell you that, it's probably not a terrible season. Happy for a chance. I do think it's interesting. I'd have to look back at when the last time 2 teams, both from the SEC, this is like both the East and the West team, which I know we're not in the East and West anymore, but like the same 2 teams played in the conference championship back-to-back years. Like to say we played Texas, Georgia this year, it would be Texas, Georgia next year. Not sure if I'm there with that. I'm sure the Arch Manning hype is driving that train. But I don't see Georgia Tech being one of those losses. Maybe Auburn, if they figure out the quarterback situation, if they're able to air the ball out some. But I don't know. I just still think that there are going to be harder games on our schedule. I think the Texas regular season game is going to be harder than the Georgia Tech game.
I'm really excited for that game late November. Like you look at it, Georgia starts out in terms of their schedule. They start out with some tough ones in terms of conference play. You go from Marshall and Austin Peay playing at Tennessee, then Alabama, then you're home versus Kentucky. You're home versus Alabama, Kentucky. Then you go on the road to Auburn, and then you're home to Ole Miss. You go to Jacksonville, play Florida, at Mississippi State, close out your SEC play with Texas, and then close out the season with Charlotte and Georgia Tech.
See, I'm a man of statistics and just like knowing that streaks are meant to be broken. I would be more worried at Tennessee. I mean, you've beaten them 8 years in a row, 9 years in a row. They're building up off of a college football playoff year. Nico's going to be in his junior season, if I remember right. So one of his prime pay me years. That would be the game early in the season with an unproven quarterback and Gunner that would probably scare me the most. I could see you dropping that. Again, statistics tell me that it's our turn to finally turn one up on Alabama. So maybe get over that hump. And then kind of as you go throughout the year, like there are just going to be some interesting games because like when Alabama was so dominant for so long, and like any team that's so dominant for so long, you're getting people's best shots, and sooner or later you're bound to slip up against a team that maybe you've had a lot of success against over a lot of years in a row. You've beaten Georgia Tech a lot of years in a row. You've beaten Auburn in the regular season a lot of years in a row. Same thing with Tennessee. You just hope all of that bad luck doesn't kind of hit you at one time.
Yeah. While you were talking just there, you brought up a point that I wanted to go back to in terms of when the last time we've had a repeat of the SEC championship game in terms of opponents. It was Alabama and Florida in 2016 and 2015 was the last time the same two teams matched up in the conference championship game. Not the years that I would have thought it would have been Alabama, Florida repeating. I would have thought it was the Tebow days.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about that 2015, 2016 Florida team. Do you? I mean, they got beat both times. They got boat raced in 2016.
What year?
Who was on that Florida team?
What year did they have the quarterback? Did they start 6-0 and he got popped for PEDs? Was that one of those two seasons? When they were right?
It might have been. Was that
that's before your
Will Greer?
Yeah, Will Greer, West Virginia legend. Will Greer. They started like 5-0 or 6-0, and then he popped positive and he was suspended a year. They ended up like surviving into that, but I just think they were never the same.
Yeah.
Like you're saying,
not the matchup I would have thought.
That 15-16 Bama teams, I mean, that 16 Bama teams, Jalen Hurts as a true freshman. Shout out, Super Bowl MVP. Who would have ever thought? I really think that his time at Oklahoma really, really helped him, which is crazy to think of, maybe sometimes transferring is better for you. Teach you something new if you can learn it.
The grass is sometimes greener on the other side. Kobe, I know this is really off topic, but you brought up Jalen Hurts. Just give me a little tidbit of what the discussions were heading into that 17-18 championship game when you're all facing Jalen Hurts.
Oh, I mean, at that point, he just wasn't as skilled of a passer. He just couldn't consistently beat you with the arm. And I think we thought if you could get him off spot and disrupt some of that throwing that he was really going to just try to run to beat you, and we had a good game plan to contain him. I think that was pretty obvious. And then I just think that Tua came in and, really made some big throws and some big plays and in some plays that we really had him contained pretty well. And then, as the years go on, you get better. I mean, I think Jalen has progressed to being the better quarterback, even as his college career progressed, and especially now in the pros. He just brings more to the table, I guess.
You bring up. I want to touch on that because you did bring up Jalen. I knew you were on that team. Obviously for a historic Rose Bowl, but obviously for the heartbreaking, gut wrenching, however you want to describe it, one of those losses to Alabama that sadly we will never forget. I wanted to bring that up in terms of. I know we only got a few more minutes, so sorry, folks. This is what happens when you have just 3 schedules and impromptu things change. Got to read, got to react. We got to call an audible at the line of scrimmage. We got to get these things out. We didn't want to go 3 weeks without a show. So we wanted to get back and get this to you, even if it's just a little bit of time. We are rolling here already. Kobe, 2 losses. I mean, to me, I know I said it after the previous year's Alabama game. I don't know if I'll pick Georgia against Alabama again until I see Georgia go out and win it again. There's something just weird about it. Now, granted, it is at home this year, and Bama hasn't been to Sanford Stadium since 2015. It's been quite a while, and that stadium, the atmosphere has changed. Obviously, the history around Georgia football has changed quite a bit. Is this the year Georgia beats in the regular season? Like you said, it's shaping up to be that way. It looks better. The chances are better this year. I'm with you, though. I don't see the Auburn loss. I get it's at Jordan Hare, but I still have so many damn questions about Auburn. Like, that's not a stable, consistent program right now. Now, are they going to go out and have a breakout year and pull upsets? Maybe, but let me go pull up in this link where Brad Crawford has them finishing, and that might give us a better context of what he thinks. No, he has them at 9-3. And his reason is signed a number of playmakers on both sides and welcome new signal caller Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma. I don't know if I'd be leading with Jackson Arnold as one of my reasonings for Auburn going 9-3 this year. Now, granted, you just brought up quarterbacks changing scenery and being better for it. Maybe that's the case with him. Maybe he's a much better quarterback somewhere else.
Here's my thing: is the portal and all these things. Like, I don't know how their season kind of begins, but it you better hope you start fast as a transfer quarterback, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of looks, a lot of people. He's not the only transfer quarterback they took this year. The other guy behind him, Ashton Daniels, started two
Shout out
years at
Juan.
Stanford. Shout out Juan. There's going to be pressure breathing down your neck all throughout the spring, all throughout fall camp. You go out and you play poorly in the first 2 or 3 games, you're going to be watching from the sidelines, and that's nothing personal against the kid. I'm just saying that when you take numerous transfers, you're kind of hedging your bet going, well, we took Jackson Arnold because we think the upside is way up here. But we also know that if he doesn't play to his abilities, he could be way down here. And I think that versus Ashton, maybe you think he gives you more of just a good consistent burn somewhere. I don't know how things will shake out. They have a whole spring, a whole summer, a whole fall before they really get there. But I don't trust the head man on the Plains right this second.
I'm with you there. I'm not buying into it just yet. Wouldn't be buying stock. Don't know if I'd say I'm selling stock, because I don't know if I have any Auburn stock, to be honest with you. That's just not in my portfolio right now, if I were you. But I guess to wrap it up, because we do got to run. Like I said, impromptu show, so it's abbreviated. But hey, maybe for those that don't want to sit through an hour show, maybe this is the show that you come sit down with us and you're here, for 100% of the time, and you get to experience the Top Ball Talk podcast in abbreviated version. Let's just give our take real quick. Obviously, I think in order for Georgia to go back to the SEC championship, to get back into the playoffs, I think I don't even need to say it at this point, but I'm just going to say it anyways. I do think, obviously, you got to see a step forward on offense. You can't be 90th in rushing and not consistently vertical, or not consistently explosive in the passing game. Like, I don't know how many times you're going to be able to have that season Georgia just had and have it go as well as it did.
It's weird, right? College football, especially compared to the NFL, the NFL teams are very balanced. And sometimes your better college football teams aren't overly balanced throughout the year because you're playing lesser competition. You get inflated statistics, you get different numbers that kind of pop at you. You have to have a mixture of explosive plays that lead to scores. And then you also have to have the ability to churn it out. 12, 13 play drives down the field. But then also when you need it, you need to be able to run in, have 2 or 3 plays, and all of a sudden you're in the end zone and you're back on the sideline and you're up 7 more points. This year I felt like we were just churn them out 12, 13, 14 plays. And yeah, we're scoring on a lot of those drives, but man, it's wearing you out. You're having to play unnecessary plays. You're having to show unnecessary looks. You're having to block properly on more and more plays. Sometimes it's nice to go out there, run 3 really good plays. Hey, defense time to go out there. It also puts pressure on the other side. I think that'll be something that will have to show up again, because, I think about back to the 21, 22 teams, even the 17 team, we were very run heavy, but you were 1 play away from Nick Chubb or Sony taking 165 yards to the house. I mean, it just was that easy sometimes. I think back to the comeback against Oklahoma. You think about how many 3 or 4 play drives we had where it was like, oh, there goes Sony, 75 yards, touchdown. Oh, Nick's turn, 65 yards, touchdown. Holy cow, we just scored 21 points in 10 minutes. And it's because we didn't have 12 play drives down the field. We were boom, boom, boom. And here's the ball, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I still hear Fowler saying, just keeps chugging into the end zone, Nick Chubb. I still hear it. Never leaves me. Anytime I think about that one and Sony escaping down the sideline for I think it was 50, 60 yards, which I think he did twice that game. Last thing. We got a minute. Kobe, one thing, one hot, or it doesn't even have to be hot. One prediction you're most confident about this Georgia team is?
We catch the ball better in 2025. The drops go way down, way down.
That will be a welcome sight to all of us, not just fans, but also to your media members. Not having to wade through just numerous Why is this guy playing? He can't catch the ball. Why is he playing? Whew. I
Valid
hope
point.
that comes true. I
That's
hope it comes
valid
true.
point sometimes, though.
It is valid. But hey, I guess what I learned was it's not just one guy. It's usually all of them, or a lot of them. A lot of them. I think that drop
And
stat sheet was filled.
and when it's and leave you with this, and when it's all of them, maybe the finger to point isn't at them anymore.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's Kobe Pierce. What wise word? Wise word of the day.
Sure. Yeah,
Wise
fine.
word.
Be fine.
Let's do it. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. I know this is really impromptu. Kobe, thank you. Kobe wasn't supposed to be here. Kobe has plans. Which is why we are doing this very, very abbreviated. We had a thing pop up very, very last minute. I was like, hey, I need a co-host. I was like, I called Kobe up. Kobe was like, hey, I'm home. I'm like, bet. Let's go ahead and hop on if we can. If you're available, we'll hop on, knock the thing out. And I guess we'll come back next week, maybe touch on some of the stuff again, give you a little bit longer version of our thoughts on this. So if you're here with us live, whether you're here after watching it after we are live, we appreciate you for being here, folks. Very abbreviated edition of the Top podcast, but make sure to follow him at Kobe Pierce on Twitter. Follow me at Harrison Reno. And yes, follow our friend Dan Kiley at Dan Kiley3. We will see you next Wednesday on the Top podcast with a blind draft, more hot topics, more great conversations. Appreciate y'all.
Peace.